What's going on, guys? It's Seth Ford here, and today I am back with yet another college football prediction video. And I know it's been like a few weeks here, and the last time I posted was the LSU versus the USC game going in Las Vegas. And now we're going to be talking about, I think this is going to be in the third week of September. So the Alabama Crimson Tide, first time, in my opinion, for a while, that they're going on the road at the Wisconsin Badgers on September 14th. In 2024. There's going to be a whole lot of change for this upcoming season just because with the conference realignment, coaches retiring, coaches getting fired, this and that as well. And of course now the 12-team playoff that is now going to be implemented in the new system instead of the 4, and now it's the 12. So it's going to be crazy just to even see how all that plays out. And of course the NIL, the transfer deals, or the transfer portal fiasco and all that other stuff with players. It's been a crazy time to be a college football fan. But yes, it's also a good time, and it's also a bad time. And of course, also, as you all know, that Nick Saban has officially retired of coaching the Alabama Crimson Tide, one of the greatest coaches to ever coach in college football. Won 5+ national championships at Alabama, won at LSU, and it's just crazy that he just dominated. And of course, you never bet against Alabama, regardless of how good the other team was. You know that Alabama was going to be that team that could dominate you no matter how bad or how good they are. Well, last year was considering their down year, even though they made it to the college football playoffs and lost to Michigan, but still, they kind of filtered out a little bit early on in the season with Jalen Milroe and, of course, the other quarterbacks. And then that crazy, wacky, weird game against UAB, which UAB almost beat them. So it was kind of a weird, strange year last year, going into the year last year. But they figured it out. Though they lost to Michigan, and Michigan ended up winning. That was a great game. And then, of course, I think that Nick Saban kind of was tired of the whole NIL stuff or the transfer portal stuff as well. And because he called it, he pretty much called it. And of course, teams poaching players to go to different schools. So I'm all for players' freedoms, but there needs to be a limit of how many times kids can transfer out, because that's just crazy. They can transfer out 4 or 5 times. It's wild, and they still get bounced and not be on starting lineup. So that's kind of crazy. All right, so I made a slideshow. So let's go on to the next slide. We have last season. We have Alabama winning the SEC against Georgia, and of course they bounced Georgia out when they had an undefeated season, which is crazy because of course Texas beat Alabama, so therefore Texas was in because of that, and of course Alabama as well. So they were 5th ranked in the last season, 12-2 overall, and 8-0 in the SEC West. They actually played really well in the SEC. Almost lost to Auburn. That was a crazy, wild game. And of course, like I said earlier, lost to Michigan in the semifinals. Wisconsin had a little up and down here, just because I think it's a new coach, a new system, and all the other stuff as well. 7-6, 5-4, lost to LSU in a bowl game of this past season. All right, and then last meeting, I remember watching this game and hoping that Wisconsin would beat Alabama, because I don't like Alabama, as you can probably tell from all the previous videos, but I would never bet against Alabama with Nick Saban being the coach. So they played in 2015. Alabama won with a whopping 35-17. And so there you have it for the last meeting. Location, this will be at Camp Reynolds Stadium, Madison, Wisconsin. Time, I don't really know. It's probably maybe a afternoon game or a night game. Potentially, it could get flexed to a night game, in my opinion. So we'll see how that pans out. Okay, so coach's record. As you all know, that like I said earlier in the beginning of the video, that Nick Saban has officially retired, and Kellen DeBoer from Washington had an excellent season last year with Michael Penix and Dunze. They had a great offense, and the defense and then of course they kind of shut down in the finals against Michigan. They upset Texas, which that was crazy. He actually did a really good job at Washington, 25-3, 16-2, total 104 to 12 wins and losses. So I think that hopefully he'll get Alabama back to their core for next year because they just lost a lot of players, and of course, a lot of players going to the draft as well. And so, we'll see how that goes out. So, Luke Fickell, I think, will do a great job at Wisconsin. I think that once he gets his players in and his system implemented, and of course, Phil Longo as the OC, which I'm not a fan of Phil Longo as an OC just because of the way his system is with that air raid, and just it never really did well against actual good teams. But they will always run up the score against mid-average teams. But I mean, it's a win's a win. So, they went 7-6, 5-4. He went to the college football playoffs, lost to Alabama. But I mean, he had a great tenure at Cincinnati, who now are in the Big 12, which I kind of think he should have stayed. But anyways, I think he wanted to be back home. I think he went to Wisconsin. May not be right there. So 57-18 overall at Cincy, 35-11 in conference play. Really, really good. Has some great players. And of course, Sauce Gardner, who is with the Jets, I believe, right now. All right, so Wisconsin had portal news. Not all accurate, but I think I got this on On3. So 23 players transfer out, 14 players transfer in. Notable players transferring out. Offensive tackle, 4-star Nolan Rusi. Offensive tackle, 4-star Trey Woodig, Indiana. And, of course, 4-star Nick Evers. I don't know why. I think UConn, my accent. Oops, that's probably a typo. Anyways. And then, of course, Alabama, with the new coach in place, they lost a ton of players. 35 players transferred out. 14 players transferred in. A lot. I mean, some guys from Washington transferred in to Alabama. But safety, 5-star Caleb Downs goes to Ohio State. He was a really good player as a freshman last year. And then this guy, Caden Proctor, went to Iowa for like 3 months and then transferred back to Alabama, which that was kind of crazy. So that's wild. He's a 5-star tackle. 5-star QB Julian Sayin went to Ohio State. So Ohio State pretty much snagged some players from Alabama. DB 5-star Des Ricks went to Texas A&M. All right, so the top 3 offensive starters. Quarterback Tyler Van Dyke, who played recently with Miami for a few years. Then he transferred to Wisconsin. So that will be huge for Luke Fickell because he's a veteran guy. He's actually a pretty good quarterback, in my opinion, because I watched him play as a UNC fan in the ACC. So he had 2,703 passing yards, 19 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. Running back, we got Ches Mellusi, and also Tanner Mordecai went to the NFL. But anyways, so I guess this is all also from OurLads.com. They usually predict the players, and then I try to find the players, the top 3. So bear with me if I'm wrong. Just comment down below who I've missed and what I missed. So Ches Mellusi had 51 carries, 307 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Braylon Allen went to the NFL. He was really, really good. Wide receivers, this will be huge. Will Pauling is actually probably their go-to guy, I believe. Had 74 receptions, 837 receiving yards, 6 touchdowns, and 11.3 yards average. Okay, so pretty much the quarterback will be Jalen Milroe going into the season. He decided to stay. He actually had a really good year, in my opinion, though a lot of fans did not like his play just because earlier in the year they were trying to situate which quarterback was the guy, and of course Milroe was the guy. He was good, in my opinion, so haters can hate all they want. So he had 2,834 yards of passing, 23 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. Really, really good in my opinion. So running back, Jam Miller, had 41 carries, 201 rushing yards, and 1 touchdown. Oh, let me move this away. And, of course, Jace McClellan, who was their leading running back, is gone to the NFL. So wide receivers, so it looks like Kobe Prentice will be the guy. Jermaine Burton goes to the NFL. So he had 18 receptions, 314 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns, and 17.4 yards average. So really, really good. So that'll be helpful for Jalen Milroe. All right, so the top 3 defensive players, we got our defensive lineman, our linebacker, and, of course, our DB. So I tried to get the top 3 players on defense who are coming back, I think, for this upcoming season. We got James Thompson, 29 total tackles, 19 solo, 3 sacks, and 2 pass deflections. So that's pretty good for a defensive lineman. Then we have Jake Chaney, also pretty good for a linebacker, 80 total tackles, 50 solo tackles, 3 sacks. Now this guy, Hunter Wohler, I never watched him play because I don't really watch I watched some of the Big Ten, but not Wisconsin. So this guy is, I guess, their key player. So he's back with the team. So that's huge for Luke Fickell and the Badgers. 120 tackles, 74 solo tackles. That's actually really impressive. Solo tackles, 1 sack, 2 interceptions, and 6 pass deflections. That's incredible. All right, so we all know that Alabama will always have a really good defense, but let's see how Kevin DeBoer will do under the new head coaching position. But Alabama will always have a great defense. We got Tim Keenan III, 38 total tackles, defensive lineman, 17 solo tackles, 1 sack, 1 pass deflection. And, of course, linebacker Deontay Lawson, 67 tackles, total tackles, 32 solo tackles, 3 sacks, and 4 pass deflections. That is really incredible, really good, in my opinion, too. 4 pass deflections and 3 sacks. That's really impressive and incredible. I don't know why I keep saying impressive and incredible. It's incredible. Or really, really good. So, DB Malachi Moore, 51 total tackles, 30 solo tackles, 1 interception, and 4 pass deflections. That's pretty good, in my opinion, too. So, yeah, I mean, Alabama will always have a solid defense no matter what, because that's what they're known for, too. All right, so the full team stats, I believe this will be accurate from ESPN. We got yards per game, 379.9 yards on offense. Passing per game, 211.2. Rushing, 168.8 yards. Points per game, 23.9. I think that Wisconsin was usually a one-back type of offense where they usually run a lot of offense plays running-wise. But now with Luke Fickell, I think that will change. And, of course, Phil Longo, who's an air raid offense. So maybe that'll change, in my opinion. We'll see how that pans out for this upcoming season. All right, for Alabama, we have yards per game. We have 393.1 yards per game. Passing, we have 220.4. Rushing, and also Alabama is also known for having really, really good running backs, 172.6, and, of course, 34.0 points per game. Oops. All right, so for full team stats for defense, we have yards per allowed per game. We have 331.4, not great. 193.3 yards, still not great. 138.1, not too bad. And, of course, allowed 18.9 points per game, which still is not too bad either. But that passing, they need to get that passing yards down, and, of course, passing. So that's not too. I mean, having less than 200 yards is still good, but allowing 331 per game is not too great, but not too bad, like in the middle. All right, so defensively we have Alabama. We have yards per game 313.3, passing yards to 188.8, not too bad at all. Of course, their defensive rushing game is really good, 124.5, and of course, similar to Wisconsin, only allowing less than 0.4, 18.4 points per game. All right, so lastly, my final prediction for this year's matchup between the Alabama Crimson Tide going on the road to face off Wisconsin, and I think that this will be a different game, and I think that since it's at Wisconsin, with Alabama losing a lot of players to the NFL draft, and of course a lot of players to the transfer portal, yes, they get in players from from Washington, because of Kevin DeBoer, new coach, new system, but they still have Jalen Monroe. I think that Wisconsin will win by 7 points, mainly due to the fact that they have a lot of guys coming back from their offense and, of course, from defense as well. So I think that minus 7 points is realistic, and I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, too, because both teams will probably like to run the ball a lot, too, or they like to throw the ball because Tyler Van Dyke is actually a good QB. I'm not a Wisconsin fan. I know I said that I'm a hater of Alabama. I do like Alabama, too, so if you think that this is a biased video, it's not. I just predict the videos. That's all. All right, guys, this is Seth42 here. Hope you all enjoy this video. I know it's kind of lengthy, but comment down below if you're an Alabama fan. Comment down below if you're a Wisconsin fan, and who you think is going to win this matchup for this year's college football top 25 matchup. So, yeah. All right, guys, this is Seth42 here. Have a great rest of the day. Enjoy the weekend, and peace out.